Our next guest is Mr. Charles Singleton. He is originally from Cleveland, Ohio. He holds a bachelor's degree in psychology, like me, and a Juris Doctorate from Emory School of Law. He has worked in several fields, including child welfare, juvenile probation, as well as several law firms. And he is now the proud founder and managing partner of Singleton Law Group in Conyers, Georgia. He is also a licensed minister for the past 40 years. Welcome, Charles. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Simone. I appreciate it.
Good, good, good. So by way of introduction, just tell us a little bit more about your life, your upbringing, and anything else you would like us to know about you.
Well, I was raised in Cleveland, Ohio. My family, I was the youngest sibling, 4 older sisters. Okay, so I was the baby. They say I'm spoiled, but I don't believe it. But just had a regular upbringing in a, I guess, lower middle class neighborhood. Both my parents worked hard to provide for us. And so, I mean, that was my environment growing up. And then I went away to college in Oklahoma. It's the first time I've been away from home. And so when I left, I never moved back to Cleveland. So since then, I've been out on my own.
Okay, good, good. So, so nice for you to join us today. So just tell us some challenges you faced along the way, especially in terms of starting your own law firm.
Well, I mean, it seems like I picked probably the worst possible time to start a firm. We started in October. We had no idea, of course, that the pandemic would come in March. And effectively, at least here in Georgia, since March, the courts have been closed. There's minimal services, emergency services, so it's been a challenge. Right. But God's been faithful in that we've been able to still work and produce income. Of course, starting a business of any kind is difficult, but we've been blessed. The government has offered some programs, some low interest to no interest loans for small businesses, and we've been able to take advantage of some of that to help us keep going. But where there's a will, there's a way. So
absolutely, absolutely. Now, have you been able to make any changes, like moving some of your operations to online, maybe?
All of it. Luckily, with the type of law that I practice, which is primarily in the area of probate, wills and estates, things like that, and personal injury, there's not a need for a lot of in-person contact. Good. So most of the things that we do is through email. We can video conference. And if clients still feel comfortable in coming in, I have that option as well where they can come in. But most of everything that I do is online. I've even conducted we actually had a hearing online. The court did a Zoom hearing so the courts are being innovative. They've got to try to move cases, but things are very difficult right now. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So that must have been an interesting experience to have a court case online.
We did it out of necessity. So, I mean, during this time, you have to be creative because things still have to get done.
Absolutely.
And I think part of what will come out of this, I think some things will permanently change.
Yes.
Even how we go to church has changed.
Yes, and I want to talk to you a little bit about
churches that. Have to be innovative.
Yeah, I want to talk to you a little bit about that too. But just by way, I know that you're a huge advocate for final wills. And I think that's an area that a lot of us struggle with. And I have to tell you, being from the Caribbean, it is almost taboo to talk about final wills, because it's almost like you're saying to the person, they give you the impression that, oh, well, are you wishing that I die so you can inherit? It's very taboo, unfortunately. Really? So that is really a topic I want you to speak on for us, because the majority of my listening audience is from the Caribbean. So can you tell us why is it so important to have a final will?
I mean, it's important because you want your loved ones to be at peace. All right. One of the things and one of the tragic things that happens when a will is not in place is that families are often torn apart, um, battling over things that material things that really in the final analysis aren't really that consequential. Um, but if you would just take the time, and it doesn't take a lot of time, and it doesn't have to be very complicated, to just state out plainly what your desires are with the property that you have. Who do you want to have it? Who do you want to be your executor? In the case of parents with children, one of the most important reasons to have a will, if you have minor children, is that the will is the only place you can name a legal guardian while still living. Um, and so you need to have those things in place. I know it's uncomfortable. Nobody wants to talk about death. The other thing that we do with wills is something called some people would call it a living will, in which you talk about what happens if you become terminally ill, or for instance, you're in a coma. What kind of care do you want to receive? That needs to be done in advance, so that so that your desires are carried out. It's uncomfortable, but it's necessary. And then your family has a clear roadmap as to what you desire, and there's not the bickering that happens.
Right, right. Now, kind of walk us through the process. If I came to you today and told you that I wanted to prepare a will, what would the process look like?
One of the first things I'll do is I'll give you a questionnaire in which you're going to detail your estate. A lot of people say, well, I don't have anything. Yes, you do. I mean, you have clothing, you have jewelry, you have vehicles. Many people have a home. Many people have life insurance, retirement benefits, those kinds of things. So we would list out, you would detail everything that you can come up with that you own. And then you talk about, well, who do I want to have the authority to carry out my wishes? That's called an executor, a personal representative. You need to think about that. Who do you trust? For most married couples, it's your spouse. But then we always name someone else in case your spouse can't serve. So you need to think about a person that has the capacity to handle that kind of thing. It doesn't matter if your estate is large or small. The steps are the same. Once we've done that questionnaire, I'll make an initial draft of a will, and then we just go back and forth where we continue to build it and draft it into the document that you want. It's a short process. It can be, as long as we communicate. And most of it, all of it can be done virtually.
Okay, great, great. And what is the time frame from the beginning to the end of the process, you would say, typically?
30 to 60 days.
Okay, good, good. And I think it's so important what you just mentioned, especially if you have minor children, because I don't
Yes.
think that that a lot of us realize the implications in terms of who do you want to handle your affairs? It may not necessarily be your spouse.
Right.
And
And
second of,
many times it's not. Right.
yeah,
And there are actually, it can be your accountant. I mean, it's whoever you trust.
exactly.
Um, so, but it's a necessity, especially when you have minor children.
Yeah, so I
Nobody
just,
likes to think about the worst.
yeah.
But as an attorney, that's my responsibility to think about the worst case scenario.
Yeah, and I just think we
Um,
need to get past the fact that, we think it's so morbid, that we
right.
think that, I'm wishing death on you. So as someone who is ingrained in this process, do you have any suggestions of how we might approach the topic? That's a
I
tricky
mean, I
one, right?
think, right. I mean, I think that it's important that we just have an honest discussion about, hey, nobody plans to die,
Yes.
but you need to plan what happens after you die.
Yeah.
And us just speaking about these things does not somehow make it come to pass any sooner, because all of us are going to go this way. So we might as well be prepared.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you're dealing with somebody that's got that kind of a fear, or maybe it would be best to, hey, let's go talk to an attorney so you can hear and see what our options are.
Right, right. It's kind
To
of
get,
like the conversation about life
to
insurance as
try to
well.
ease. Exactly. Um, Nobody wants to die, but you need to have life insurance to be prepared. It's tragic to look on Facebook and Instagram and see people doing GoFundMe's because somebody has passed away and they don't have the funds to bury them. And it's expensive. I don't know if you've ever, how close you've been in that experience, but it can run 10, 15, $20,000. But when you consider the ease of a life insurance policy, especially if you're healthy, there's no reason not to do it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So thank you for that. Well, thank you for the advice on the importance of having a will. And if you're just joining us, we are speaking to attorney at law, Mr. Charles Singleton, and he's just been informing us of the importance of having a final will, even when we are young, and how we can remove the stigma and the taboo that oftentimes surrounds having a will, because it is really so important. Now, Charles, the other reason I wanted you to come on today to speak with us is because of your role as a minister, and I truly appreciate that you're joining us today. Because as you know, the world is in such turmoil right now. So I was asking you to come on just to kind of give us some advice on how we can cope, how we can get through this very difficult time. So do you have any suggestions for us on coping?
I do. I mean, one of the things that when this first happened in March, I think was when really we started quarantining and all of the things. One of the things that came to me in my heart is that I felt that God was saying to me personally, take this time to reset. A lot of times, I know you're busy. I mean, you're juggling a million balls. I'm juggling a million balls. My wife is as well. And a lot of times you get so busy that you're not really living, okay? That you're not taking the time to take care of yourself. Well, one of the things that came to me is this is an opportunity because everything is slowed down. For a long time, we were just in our homes, dealing with our families. So this is really a time to reset. That's the word that came to me, to reset everything. So for me personally, the first thing I had to reset was my relationship with God. Because a lot of times you think you have a close relationship with God, but really what you had was a close relationship with your church. And those two things are totally separate. Now that you don't have the ability to come together corporally in worship or get a word, how are you going to get that word? We cannot be dependent on anybody else. One of the things that just impresses me and that I talk about a lot when I have the opportunity to share is that the first relationship in history was man and God, woman and God. That's the most important relationship. All right. So we need to reset that and learn how to go to God, be able to hear from God for ourselves. You don't need a prophet, a pastor, anybody really to intervene between you and God. And so one of the things that this is an opportunity to do is, hey, God, here I am. We're in the midst of things that we can't explain. I'm back to you. Talk to me. Spend time with him. Share time with God. So that's one of the things that we can do is turn to him. The second thing is turn to our families. All right. It's a good time to get reacquainted with your spouse, with your children. We've had so much time, I think for like 2 to 3 months, we barely left the house other than to go to work and come home. So that's essential time to spend with our kids, to spend with each other, to just reconnect and reset those relationships. And lastly, remember, be grateful. All right. Things look bad. All right. We're in the middle of, I think 160,000 people have died just in our country, many more than that around the world. We're in the middle of social upheaval in this country, racial unrest, all types of things are happening. But in spite of all that, we're here. And so that I'm grateful for. And so instead of focusing so much on the negative, think about all the things that are going right in your life. Think about the fact that you still have shelter, that you still have people that love you and that you love, that you still have finances and resources. Those are things to be grateful for. Think about the fact that you can move. One of the things that I'm doing during this I've got myself a trainer. You know, I've always been physically active, but I'm taking it to another level. All right. I've got myself a trainer. I want to redo and remake Charles Singleton. All right. Physically. And so get involved, do some things that you've always said you were going to do. Now you have time to do them. All right. And go for it with gusto. Be grateful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Charles. And you know, you made several wonderful points that I just want to reiterate. And one of them is the fact that we were so reliant on our church. And I think a lot of us thought
Yes.
that our obligation was simply to go to church on Sunday and move on
Right.
with the rest of the week, full speed ahead, juggling all those balls that you talked about. But now we're seeing that to be really and truly religious means what is your genuine relationship with
Right.
God. So it's a great time to focus on that. And then the other thing as well, I think is very helpful, that is what keeps me motivated, is to keep thinking that this too shall pass.
Absolutely.
This too shall pass. And when it does pass, what is my life going to look like? Would I have spent, let's say this goes on for at least a year, would I have spent this time moaning and groaning and complaining? Or would I have done like what you're doing, resetting, reconnecting with your family, and somehow making myself better so that when all this is over, what does my life look like?
Exactly.
Yeah. So,
Um, and it tests our faith, because Jesus said this in Matthew 6:25. He said, do not worry about your life. Now, when you think about that, what the only thing people are worried about is their life. I mean, and he said, don't worry about what you're going to eat, what you're going to wear, um, how your physical needs are going to be met. And 99% of people, that's what they're stressed out about, is how are we going to live? How are we going to make it? Jesus said, don't worry about that. And he said that because he said, listen, if your father takes care of birds and wildflowers, how much more is he willing to take care of you? So really it gets down to this issue, Simone. Do you really believe that God loves you? If you really believe that, then there's nothing to worry about. There's nothing to be stressed out about, because we know he has promised. And I've seen this over and over in my life, that when I thought that I could not make it through a situation or a circumstance, you know what? We made it through. I made it through. Most of the things that we worry about never even happen. All right. So we might as well learn how to relax and let God handle these types of situations. Faith in the fact that he loves you, and just relax in that, and allow and live your life. I mean, we've still got to live, even in the midst of this pandemic. You still got to live. You still got to have enjoyment. You still got to find pleasure in things. And so I would just encourage people to just trust God, because he loves us. He cares about us, and he knows we're in this situation, and he's taking care of us, and we're going to make it through. Like you said, this is a season. This will pass. God is a seasonal God. There's winter, there's spring, there's summer, there's fall. That happens every year. So why don't we think that in our lives, we're not going to go through some winters? But guess what? Spring is coming. And
amen.
even in the midst of spring, with all the storms, guess what? Summer's coming. And even though it might feel too hot in the summer, fall's coming, the cool. So it's always cyclical. It's always, whatever you're going through is not going to last. You're going through. That's the key word. Through it. It's not the end. We're going through.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for those words, Charles. It means more to us than you will know. Now, I know that your church is doing some really great work during this time. So can you
Yes.
share with us some of what your church is doing?
I mean, of course, we're having an online church, and actually the church is actually growing even online. I mean, hundreds of people have joined online. But one of the things every month, and almost every other week, we're having to give away food giveaways, meeting the needs of the people in the community. That's really what built. We have a great pastor, TJ McBride, Tabernacle of Praise Church International in McDonough. And one of the foundational principles of our church is outreach, that the church is about building the community. And so even in the midst of this pandemic, the church continues to give. So pay attention online, follow TOP, because every month we're giving away something to anybody that has a need. And so That's the mission of the church anyway. The church was never a building, all right? The church is not a building. The church is people, people caring about people. And so whether we meet or not meet, the mission of the church is still going forward. And that is to love people and love the world like God loves us.
Very true, very true. Now, is there a particular website if someone is looking for a home church and they're looking to maybe stream to view your live stream?
Absolutely. Go to topci.org. If you're on Facebook, look for Tabernacle of Praise Church's Facebook page, the Wednesday night and Sunday stream there as well as the website. And there are always something inspirational coming forth to kind of keep us in tune with one another. One thing our pastor does is every Monday morning at 6 a.m., we have 30 minutes of prayer. He does that on Facebook, and hundreds of people join from all over the country just for that time on Monday mornings at 6. So go to topci.org, Pastor TJ McBride Ministries as well, and stay connected. And wherever your church is, stay connected to that. It is important. I'm not saying it's not important, but most importantly, stay connected to God. Pray every day, meditate every day, get some nugget every single day that you can live on for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I could not agree more. It's about staying connected with God and staying connected with people as well. So are there any other resources you might recommend if people are struggling out there, just trying to stay positive? Anything else comes to mind for you?
I mean, one of the things that I'm learning, I'm kind of a newbie at it, is the power of meditation and positive thinking. I mean, if you go on YouTube and just type in positive affirmations, okay? I mean, there are hundreds and thousands of resources that you can listen to. And so when I'm driving in my car, a lot of times I cut off the radio and I'm listening to affirmations about my health, about prosperity, about my marriage, about the world. Just constantly building myself up, keeping myself in a positive frame of mind. Because if you're not careful, like Michelle Obama even said, you can fall into a low-grade depression because of everything that's happening in our world. So you've got to continue to feed yourself positive thoughts, good thoughts. And so there are a lot of resources out there, and cling to your friends and your family. Connect with them. Let's really talk and share with one another. We're going to get through this thing together.
Yeah, certainly. So I see the importance of being both physically strong in terms of taking care of your body, because unfortunately, it seems like those of us who are in better health fare better if we unfortunately catch coronavirus. But it's also important, as you're saying, to be mentally strong. So what can you do to affirm your health, to remain positive? Because I too was surprised when I heard that Michelle Obama had a low-grade depression. So it kind of tells us that we're not alone in what we are experiencing.
Exactly. And I'm sure you're big into fitness, but one of the best medications, as a word, to deal with depression is exercise. A natural release of hormones in your body when you are active. All right. And so one of the best things you can do for yourself is to build into your lifestyle at least 30 minutes of activity, physical activity, whatever you can do. But that's essential for your mental health. Is to be physically well, to be physically active, to be physically strong. Right now, my wife works out like mad. She works out 6 days a week. She's now competing in like female physique training. So now I'm getting involved in training, and I'm in the gym at 5 a.m. All right, working with a trainer. And so, but when you're done with that, there's a high that comes. There's a rush that comes to you, and also the rush of, hey, I'm starting to look pretty good. And there's the rush of, I just feel good. I feel better. I feel stronger. I have more energy when I exercise. And so I know you and your family, you and your husband, you're into that, understand that. So it's important to not just be sitting on the couch watching TV getting depressed. All right. That's a formula for disaster. All you're going to do is be depressed, continue to eat what you don't need to eat. You're going to feed that hurt, that loneliness, that frustration with food that you don't need to. Get outside and be active. And do something positive. You don't have to join a gym. Take a walk, all right? A brisk walk. You've shown, I've seen a lot of your videos, you don't even have to have equipment, all right? Staircase, vegetable cans, whatever you've got, be active. You're going to feel better.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And my thing is always, it begins in the morning. So I think what happens is, sometimes we wake up, we have that cup of coffee and we sit on the couch. That is actually the worst thing you can do. So I say have that cup of coffee, but have it at your breakfast table. So that way you're up and you're moving. And again, it doesn't mean that you have to join the gym because a lot of the gyms are still closed. But how can you stay active?
Right.
Whether it means walking your house a few times a day, climbing the steps a few times a day, circling your house. I had one person who said to me that they will turn on a 1-hour program and literally walk the living room for the entire hour without sitting down. So there are ways to get the exercise in, and of course, all the benefits that you mentioned are indeed true. So as we get ready to wind down, Charles, I just want you to leave with us any contact information for your law firm, because I really truly want all of us to reach out and maybe get some more information on how to write a will, how you can assist us with that. So do you have some contact information for how we might get in touch with you?
Sure, you can reach me. Look for the Singleton Law Group on Facebook. There's a page there. Also, you can call me at 770-369-2668. All right, again, that's 678-369-2778. 678-369-2778. You can email me at csingleton. Again, that's @Singleton the Singleton Law Group. And like I said, we have a Facebook page. Find me there and send me a message on there. You can reach out to me that way as well.
Yes.
But we're here for you. Even if you don't decide to go with us, I'm always available to answer your question that you might have about your particular situation. Okay.
Good. And I will certainly share your information as well, because we had a little bit of a crackling in the audio, but I'll be sure to repeat your information as well. So thank you again. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing the word with us today. And thank you for all the other information that you provided. And as we wind up, do you have a final thought that you would like to leave us with today?
No, I just want to thank you, and I appreciate you for giving people in the community good information. You have some great guests, and so just keep doing what you're doing, keep on moving. I'm proud of you and what you're doing. All right.
Yes.
And your success. And you have a great book out. So just keep it going. You're an encouragement to all of us. All right.
All right. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your day. Okay.
All right. You all be blessed.
All right. Thank you.